Welcoming you to a life of awareness, the Presence Project is excited for you to join us for today's podcast with your host, Paul Kersner.
Hello and welcome to episode 91 of Are You Being Present? My name is Paul. I want to welcome you to the present moment. I want to welcome you to the here and now. And I want to thank you wholeheartedly, sincerely, and deeply for joining me in this amazing, beautiful present moment. The title and topic of today's podcast is Understanding Uncertainty with Presence. This is a topic and certainly a subject that is relevant to everyone, because I would say safely that we are living in very uncertain times. And everyone who exists on earth has gone through some level of uncertainty at certain parts of their life. A lot of people are living with uncertainty at this very moment. And the way that uncertainty has been presented to us is extremely negative. It is fuel for the ego. The ego thrives when we enter into states of uncertainty because it creates these potential possibilities that are usually very negative. And it allows for a situation where we get looped into an ego thought stream because we lack the certainty or the knowingness of what is ahead of us. The challenge really is to be able to thrive in uncertainty. But the first step is to understand that uncertainty is a part of life. And if we were to know everything that exists or that is possible, we would never really grow. We would never change. We would just exist in a state of comfort. But the reality of this life, of the third dimension, of the society that we live in, is that many things are uncertain, but we work so hard to try to figure everything out. And it requires us to give up our presence and enter into the future, which is just our imagination. And that's where the ego thrives. If we can learn how to be okay, and when I say okay, but really be neutral with uncertainty, we can find peace and presence. In that moment, we can let go and trust that we're going to be okay. But if we exert the opposite, if we're not trusting of what may be, if we're worried about what could be, then we can actually negatively manifest situations that we don't want. And it's interesting because that's how we're raised, is to prepare for terrible potential outcomes. And we have to awaken to this behavior to understand that if we can just be neutral and let go of what may be, and we stay focused on what is, and we remember that we've made it this far, then we can let go of the negative perspective and perceptions that we've held of uncertainty. True peace exists by allowing ourselves to let go of the need for certainty in the future. Everything is constantly changing, and your ego is right there creating all of these negative thought streams of what potentially could happen to you. And you spend all this time planning, plotting, preparing for something that never happens, all at the cost of all the present moments and present seconds that are gifted to you. Uncertainty is an integral facet of life. Learning how to be okay with things that are not certain is quintessential to being present. Now, I also understand it's antithetical to the matrix, to the way that we're raised. We always have to prepare for the worst. Think about that. Why are we taught to prepare for the worst? Why can't we prepare for the best? Now, I'm not saying to prepare for the best. I'm saying to let go of the need to know. Because that need to know is always going to be woven in to your ego and to the need to have some kind of comfort about where you're headed. And once that happens, you're taken right out of the moment. Your future is overlaid with all of the negative things that have happened in the past. And the certainty that you think you have is a mere illusion. It's not real. So things progress. They don't look the way that you thought that they would. And you're looped into more suffering, more self-inflicted suffering. What I'm suggesting is to reframe uncertainty, to be okay with uncertainty, to lean into uncertainty with the belief that you'll be okay, that you can figure it out, that you could pivot, that you'll keep trying as things open up, as things and situations make themselves available to you. But why lose these present moments and these present seconds ultimately to a future that hasn't happened yet? Why allow your ego to create a dystopian future filled with all this negativity just because you need a little certainty? You need to know. Why do you need to know? Why can't you be okay with not knowing? The reason is because your ego is right there chiming in, telling you that you should know, and forcing you to think and obsess about what potentially might happen. But that's just self-inflicted suffering. And we recognize this because we are the observers of our minds, of our ego, of that loud voice in our head that wants us to feel so certain about a future that is uncertain. So the work is to reframe and reimagine what uncertainty is. Just that word alone, being uncertain, can feel quite negative and very heavy. If we can neutralize it, just be okay with it, see it for what it is, it's just an opportunity, like anything else, then we can move forward with grace and ease. And wouldn't that be a much better way to navigate this reality? Is to learn how to understand and thrive ultimately in uncertainty, that there are no certainties in life. And to be able to let go and really embrace and accept that for what it is. And to understand what uncertainty has done to us in the past, as we could see that objectively, without judgment, and all the suffering that it's created for the need that we've had for certainty, and all the anxiety and stress that's created because we haven't had certainty. But in this moment, I would say most of us are okay. Everything's okay. You're going to be okay. Why do you need to be so certain about what will be? You can't guarantee me anything that's going to happen in the future. We can hope for it, and you can spend all your time preparing for it. It probably won't happen the way that you expect, but there are eventualities. Understanding and accepting eventualities has a lot to do with shifting the way that you perceive certainty and ultimately uncertainty. So I wanted to take some time to speak on this one specific word, uncertainty, and share that if we can let go of the need for certainty, the need to know what's going to happen, to understand where the ego exists within that model, what's driving you to need to know what will be? Why do you keep creating all these negative potential outcomes? What are you preparing for? Why are you preparing for it? These are the questions to ask oneself. These are the observations to have. Why am I so afraid of what's going to happen? And is my fear actually creating that for me? And if that's the case, why can't I do my work, my presence work, to shift myself back into this moment where I am okay? And why can't I stay there? Now, I realize that there are people that are going through some very challenging moments. But why make those moments even more difficult for this need for certainty? If you can learn how to let that go or recognize how your ego is using uncertainty against you, you can shift back into the present moment where you can recognize that everything is okay, but you can also use all your presence tools to find a more peaceful existence. That's what we hope for. That's what we're working towards, is peace, which is neutrality. That's presence. I understand that this is a very difficult topic, and the words are easy, but the work is challenging. It's going to require attentiveness and an awareness, because we're raised with a model that is built around negative motivators, and the need for certainty or the fear of uncertainty is by definition a negative motivator. And this work, this presence work, allows us to see that for what it is. And this is why I share this knowledge with you, to make you aware of it. Not to say that what you're doing is wrong, but to show you that this need for certainty and this fear of uncertainty needs attention, that it's not helping, that it's detracting from your ability to be present, and it's creating worry and fear and all those negative emotions that are unfounded and uncalled for, that we can let go of, so that you can be more present, more mindful, and more peaceful. And that's the whole point of this podcast, to make your reality that much more easeful. And with that, as always, I wish you nothing but peace.
Thank you for listening to the Are You Being Present podcast, brought to you by the Presence Projects. Remember, you have a choice. Choose to be present.